All right, just to check to make sure that y'all can hear me. We started a little bit early, 2 minutes early. So, quick. All right. And then just a shout out to Jeff Groves, who pointed out to me long ago that when you hear that weird GSM noise, that's from your phone, and you should have your phone on airplane mode when you're streaming. So hopefully you can hear me. I know there's a little bit of a delay. The clock is still not working. Thank you for the clock suggestions that I got. I appreciate that. Hi, Bill B. Hello, Colette. Bonjour, Paul. And hello, Mike G. Hi ho to Ruth. I think that's everybody. All right. Says we got 7 people logged in. So 4 thumbs up already. Thank you for that. Here we are at the top of the hour. Welcome to Brian Sweeney as well. 5. Ooh, we just got a bump here up to 10, double digits. So we've got the striker and the bell. So if you're tuning in, welcome. This is More Than Maybe, where we hang out on a Wednesday and do some variation of meditation and end with nothing. Yeah. I'm Andrew. Most of you all know me from the Do Nothing Project, where I am a moderator and sometimes guest host. I have news about this Sunday. And I'm a certified mindfulness meditation coach and a software engineer by trade and training. So it's September. Doesn't it feel like it was just July? Now, and not necessarily passion, Paul. I have a passion for coding and programming, which is slightly different than software engineering. In my world, I do like solving problems with technology to help make people's lives better, which software engineering can be sometimes. But yeah, so hopefully that fills slight response to the trade, training, and passion. Hello to Lynn. And I don't know, I'm a software engineer. Most software engineers are grumpy about software engineering. So as I think it was Trisha last week, maybe, or the week before, pointed out that there are a lot of skills that if you apply them to your life, they're good in the professional world, but they're not necessarily good for having a content life. So I think often about how software engineering is unique in that regard, but it's not unique. So if you I think there's a Canadian Red Cross. Correct me if I'm wrong. I was listening to the audiobook version of Sebastian Junger's In My Time of Dying, and the hidden star of his book was the 11 people that donated blood that helped save his life. And I just happen to be wearing this today. So the Canadian Red Cross would be an option for folks living north of the border. So yeah, I occasionally try to make sure to wear this every so often. So, and hello to Lynn. Hope the future is treating you well, Lynn. All right, so what do we have planned for today? I wanted to do a little bit of a concentration cross-training. And that would be, in essence, what we'll do is I'll just kind of move your concentration to particular locations. And we'll just call those out every so often. We can think of our we can think of our concentration. We can concentrate in a way that is wide open, more like a lantern. And then we can also concentrate in a way that's more one-pointed, more like a spotlight. And so in this situation, we can play around a little bit with having a wide open, having a sense of the body kind of all at once, and then shifting our concentration to particular points. So that's one part. And then the other part today that I'll offer is a little bit of guidance around settling into stillness. And the notion being that it's okay to move. But once we move and we've set in where we want to be, we can settle back into some stillness. And so that juxtaposition in a sit, I find very helpful. We'll sit for 25 minutes. The last 5, like probably 6 minutes today, last 6 minutes, I'll give a prompt to let you know that you can shift over into do nothing. So yeah. Reminder too, because I think I forget to occasionally say this. I usually say it when I know there's a couple folks in chat. The chat doesn't repeat when you watch the recording. That's why you don't see it right now if you're watching the recording. But you can send an email to that address if you're not getting email reminders. Although granted, I am sending the email reminders as late as like 50 minutes before. So they're not super far in advance sometimes. But that's a way to get on the mailing list for those email reminders. I sent out something today from Oliver Burkeman's newsletter that I particularly like. In the past, I sent out a thing around the permission slip that I realized is back there, but you've seen that before, no big deal. So that's the outline. Where are we headed? 25-minute sit. We're going to do a little bit of lantern spotlight, and then tweaking for stillness a bit. So. Oh, okay. Understandable, Gabrielle. There was something I was going to say, and now I have my mind is just completely and utterly lost what it was. So, all right. If I'm supposed to remember, I will remember and tell you at the end. So, all right, we have the fancy bell, and we'll invite the bell. Oh, that's very understated. I think Paul and Colette probably have cued me with what I was going to say. So we'll have that as our reminder for when we're done. So we're going to go ahead and start our 25-minute sit. I'm going to give you instructions around the seated posture, either sitting in a chair, on a cushion, or on a bench. But you're welcome to be standing, walking, or lying down. All equally spiritual meditation postures. So begin by just kind of checking in with the posture and tweaking if needed. So upright without being uptight is what we're looking for. And seeing a bit around where we're beginning today. Like, what's the start state? That's what I usually use as a shorthand. So for me, I've got a bunch of soreness in my shoulders and such. It's just there. It's no big deal. I'm not trying to chase it away. It's just a reminder that maybe I want to take an ibuprofen or 2 here after we're done. And then really just kind of a few deliberate breaths. Slow and low is the tempo that we're going for. Breathing in through the nose allows us to slow that breath down, and we can sink that breath low into the belly. I'm not saying you need to look for this, but the deliberate breaths are usually the moment that I go, oh, yeah, I'm meditating. Or that there's this recognition of like, oh, the meditation has started. So maybe that happens for you. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it happens when you sit down. That glint of recognition that, oh, yeah, I'm meditating. So I'm going to offer a few things that are kind of wide ranging today. And if they don't resonate with you, you can always come back to this sense of sitting and knowing that you're sitting. So it's sort of our waypoint marked right here. So if you find that you've kind of wandered off, no big deal. Just coming back to that notion of sitting and knowing that you're sitting. And then if there's a cue that sounds interesting for you to implement, go ahead and just kind of sink back in. So to begin, let's just see if we can kind of, I'll offer one way of describing this, of just sort of being able to be aware of the edges of your body all at once. So that's one way of thinking about it. The other is kind of, you may be aware of kind of where you start and where the rooms, or where you end, I should say, and where the room starts. So it's almost like you can feel the edges of you based on the room that you're in. It's a little more mystical, but sometimes it's available. But what we're doing is sort of offering this wider angle of our concentration and really holding the whole body all at once. So the last thing, I'll just reframe this into language. So we're in feel out. So it's physical sensations. And we're in this sort of wider zoom. And then changing from our lantern concentration stance to our spotlight, concentrating on our right foot. And then shifting maybe to just the contact points of the foot. This will be different if you're seated in a chair or on a cushion. Even more different if you're on a bench. And then pulling back sort of in between and just seeing if you can feel all of the contact points, where the body is contacted. Where is like sort of, where's the body being supported? And if you want to play around with it, you can move your feet if that changes the contact position. And then moving the feet, there's a bit of movement and then a return to stillness. Movement, return to stillness. And then back to our wide angle, sitting with the whole body, concentrating on the whole body. And again, we don't have to be statue still. So if you need to move, we move deliberately and settle back into stillness. And shifting back into our spotlight mode, moving your concentration to your left calf muscle. You may instinctually notice that you flex that muscle a bit just in bringing your concentration there. And then shifting that spotlight to your right bicep. Really just flashing it there, and then moving your concentration to the back of your left hand. And as you move your concentration, you may feel the sort of pull back, this almost like back pressure. Or you might find that it's really easy to soak your concentration into that spot. Okay, now drawing our attention back, or what I think of as pulling back our concentration back to holding the whole physical body in our attention at once. So concentrating on the whole body. And then last thing again, you might feel antsy, like you gotta move a little bit. Again, move, do so deliberately, and then settle back into stillness. Just seeing how that settling into stillness can support us. Okay, so you're welcome to keep applying the technique, but this is your opportunity to let go of the technique and shift into do nothing. And when we're making that transition, what are we really talking about? We're talking about letting go of the technique and then allowing, basically, uh, allowing us to shift into where we're not purposely putting a technique forward. And when we notice that we have some intention to control our attention, we let go of that. Thank you for your practice. May any merit generated while we were practicing together. May any merit generated while we were practicing together go to benefit all beings. So Paul and Colette did point out, I said I would say news for Sunday. So this Sunday, Toby Sala. That's very good to hear, Lynn. It would be amazing if both Lyns did, in fact, know each other. Thank you, Bill B. You're very welcome. It's this Sunday, Toby Sala, who was recently on the MindBod Adventure Pod, will be your guest host, and I will be in chat. I think it's so. If you haven't had a chance to check out Toby's appearance on the Adventure Pod, just want to give you that offer there. So, and folks will remember Toby has guest hosted, I think, 3 times before. So, or I should say, he's appeared on the Do Nothing Project 3 times before. He's guest hosted twice, and I think he's appeared as a co-host with Jeff once before. So, yes, and Ruth's right. He is awesome. And I am blanking on the name of his app, but he is a co-founder, I believe. Yes, Sprite Mind. Thank you. Paul brought that up. So he's the founder or the co-founder. I thought he was a co-founder for it. But Bright Mind is interesting in that before all of the hubbub with generative AI and GPTs and all these other things out there in the world, they were looking at taking Shinzen's approach and then crafting it as like an agent-oriented way of tuning in, and that was like the part of the novelty for what they were doing. And then I think that you can get they'll tune the voice of your guidance, male or female. I think at least that's what it was when I had a Bright Mind pass, but that was like 3 years ago. So I think it's available on iOS and Android. So, but yeah, so that was that news. And then thank you for the feedback on the sit. It's very interesting to, I like to play around with shifting my attention. I sit with this group that is in Michigan, and occasionally the technique that they'll play around with is sort of just like what they refer to in their world is sort of flashing your attention on the contact points, or flashing and then drawing back to sort of the whole body, and then flashing your attention on like maybe the heart center, the chest center, and so you'll so anyway, it's an interesting sort of concentration agility piece. I like to use it as oh, excellent. That is good to know, Ruth, because sometimes the terminology can get in the way. I'm always a little bit self-conscious that some of the folks that are craftier with the UM terminology are going to show up to chat one day and like take away my certification. So, the notion being that, and then pulling in, Susan Piver likes to talk about like whatever moves when you shift your concentration, what you're concentrating on, you can kind of think of that as your attention, or the focal point of your attention. that's not UM terminology. But I think that is really helpful from the utility that Susan offers in the approachableness of, like, somebody's at a party and they're like, I want you to teach me how to meditate. And the thing that moves when you move from your earlobe, your left earlobe, to your right hand, to your right finger, that is a thing that you can do, and then you go, oh, okay, and then gives you this rough approximation to start to move with that. So one of these times I'm going to have to remember to talk a little bit about terminology, or to guide around zooming. That's, I think, an often forgotten aspect of Shinzen's approach of zooming, of pulling back, like the pulling back and then the zooming in. So anyway, we're getting really close to the top of the hour. Thank you so much for your time and attention and being here. Thanks to the folks who are watching on the recording, and a couple of you will point out and email me, and I appreciate that. Yeah, and it's a happy September so far with in the realm of sports. So I never would have expected to have the Vikings be 2-0. So congratulations back to you, Bill, on the Chargers start. So it's a funny thing. I will say this. So a lot of times people are like, sports ball. I am now learning that sports is an excellent way to learn to not be invested in the outcome. that most of my adult life, I've been so invested in what a sports team that was from where I was born did. And now I can be happy when they do well. And then I can be like, well, that didn't go the way I was expecting. And it gives me these like weekly opportunities to face up to the choice point of, am I going to let the outcome of this 53-person team dictate my mood for, like the next day or so? As a kid, as a wee football fan, I'd have just I would just be miserable for multiple days afterwards. So anyway, a way to look at the utility of organized sports business. So I will see hopefully all of you on Sunday with Toby. That'll be a good time. And thank you again for being here. Have a great rest of your week. And Lynn, tell the future we're coming.